that we have seen in the last 2-3 decades after the Green Revolution. With regard to the second question, yes, one of the reasons I think is that in agriculture, as distinct from the other crops, the South Asian countries have more of defensive interests rather than offensive interests. So I think they try to look at it from that what will happen with the small farmers, because most of our farmers are minifundis. That is not like South American latifundis. So there are concerns. One is whether a more competitive when a partner will flood the market with, for example, cereals, and the small farmers will be wiped out. So that's a major concern, because still a lot of our economy is associated with agriculture. The other, I think, is also the revenue concern. So what we are also seeing is that not that the sensitive lists are not being reduced. For example, India has reduced its sensitive list not only it has reduced for all the countries, but at a faster pace for the LDCs. But still, there are a large number of agricultural, and I think we have to do it gradually and strategically, but we have to reduce it otherwise the SAFTA really is not working. And there are works by Professor Ayan Mukherjee which shows that what is the percentage of total trade that goes under in SAFTA. I think 65% or something. So there's a lot of trade is in the sensitive list, which are outside of the perimeter of the SAFTA. With regard, there was a question with regard to the commodity market. Yes, that can reduce the volatility, but what we have also seen that when it matters, for example, in 2007-8, when there was this high price volatility, India stopped, for example, in 5 commodities, the futures trade was stopped. So I think one will have to be very careful, because we are talking about food security, and there is also a lot of speculation in the commodity markets also. So given the nature of these particular products, I think we will have to be very, very careful. Thank you.
Just a few responses in terms of, there was mention of GM. The other potential area is biofortified crops, which have, there are a lot of biofortified varieties like zinc fortified rice, iron fortified wheat, varieties which would be applicable across the region, relevant, which are there available now from the research system, and the trials have proved their efficacy, but a roadmap for their promotion is what is required. That's something we've been engaging with the government on that, and in Bangladesh also zinc fortified rice, Dr. Rahman, is already available and being promoted, but in terms of what is the price support to be given, that will be given to farmers so that they can produce it, and it can be a very viable means of addressing undernutrition. On the issue of moving from cereal-based diet, I think that's very important, because when you look at all the national surveys, you will find that the majority of the population, the diets are cereal dominated. And so the first step has to the dietary diversification. One is at the level of smallholder farmers, given that most of the farm holdings in this region are smallholder farm families, a farming systems approach for production diversity leading to dietary diversity. So as part of our work, one of our areas of research under LANSA was to demonstrate feasibility of a farming systems approach, and we were able to show that over a period of 4 years, this change and improved dietary diversity as a first step to improved nutrition outcomes. So that one level, that's very important. And the point that Dr. P.K. Anand made about nutrition awareness, that's very, very crucial. So even among urban educated populations, that awareness is not there, and there is the other side of malnutrition, of overnutrition, obesity, those kind of issues also coming up. So nutrition awareness coupled with this, about an approach for a balanced diet, I think that's definitely a must to address the issue.
Thank you very much, Bhavani. I think just the last word, and I really wanted to tell you that how we are making use of this regional cooperation on this food security. I think those of you who heard Prime Minister Imran Khan's first speech after taking oath, he had an MRI scan with a healthy child and a malnutrition child. So as a Prime Minister, the first speech that he did, it was on malnutrition, and he had this MRI and he was explaining the nation that If you look at this MRI, you will find right side is the child who got nutritious and balanced food during first 5 years of his life, and this is one, and his brain is permanently retarded. So he has this agenda on his first 100 days plan. We did have this midday meal program 10 years ago in Musharraf's regime, which was badly hit by the charges of pilferage and corruption, Tawana, Pakistan. So we had to discontinue it. And now one part of my visit was to find something on midday meal evaluation, what worked and what didn't work in India, so that when I go back, I can, in the advisory council, I can present that this is the success story from India and these are the lessons we can learn. So of course, these are the type of things that, keeping in consideration that our socio-economic condition and our socio-political conditions, they are so similar, we can't have any replicable model from Brazil and zero hunger program than what we can have from India, from Bangladesh, or from Nepal, because this is what would work. And this, otherwise, Brazil's zero hunger program, it is one of the world's most successful program. But I know that I can't replicate it in Pakistan. You can't replicate it in India. But what worked here or what didn't work here, this is what we can replicate in Pakistan. And this is the way forward. Thank you very much.
So we break for a quick cup of tea, and we assemble in another 10 minutes for the next session. Colleagues, we would very much like to start this session right now, otherwise we'll be delayed. So I request our colleagues to kindly usher, our participants who are outside, they can come in along with their tea and coffee.
Sri Lanka VTS.
So request the distinguished panelists to kindly come on the dais.
IPS. We definitely need you.
Okay. Yep. Come. So kindly settle down. Sure.
Whoever is in chair, you are always in chair. You are there, you are in chair. We are just. I know if I'm not part of the table, I will be in the middle.
So the floor is yours, sir, to take us.
Thank you. So friends, please settle down. We begin our penultimate session, which is extremely important for research institutions and for our partnership, which actually was the objective of the whole day exercise that we did. For last 2 days, we have identified several areas of of research. The question is, in light of the new commitment that have come up with the Sustainable Development Goals, what are we going to do in terms of advancing this agenda? And as time and again, everybody from this side have emphasized, the political traction is missing. We need to carry forward cooperation. Everybody is appreciative. Everybody is seeing the need. The region has to move together, has to work together, and have to achieve the goals together. Question really is, where do we stand and what role think tanks and multilateral institutions, civil society organizations, and others can play to motivate and to activate and supplement basically the efforts that are there at the G2G level. How to advance SDGs is the major question before all of us. And here we have invited some of the leading intellectuals from the region who were part of these last 3-day consultations. They contributed in all different ways. And much more important are the institutions they are affiliated with, and they have nurtured over the years in the region, and for promoting regional understanding, regional cooperation, and trying to explore complementarities that exist. As you would agree, and we discussed for last 3 days, SDGs offer scope for transformative policies to come in, and that I think is one of the biggest advantages to go beyond government to government. When we talk about, as Mustafizur Rahman was mentioning, cross-border ideas, cross-border norm setting, cross-border idea of justice, we need to see how we go beyond government to government for advancing our understanding. And there the role of think tanks, the idea of cross-hybridization of our approaches, our concepts, and our ideas, they come up in a major way. And this, I think, is largely the proposal that has emanated out of our 3-day consultation. The question is, how do we then institutionalize it? How do we put it in a coherent manner in a platform so that we meet regularly and go beyond the kind of expectations that we may have? As you might have seen in the agenda, we have been grappling with this proposal of floating a platform where we can bring in some of the research institutions together. The moment you think of a new platform of regional nature, focusing on SDGs, there are several questions come up in our minds. The first and foremost is, of course, this cross-border and cross-domain connect of SDGs. There was reference to GM crops in the session itself on agriculture. Issues were there in terms of how we block the trade of spurious seeds. How do we go forward with mutually recognized agreements within agriculture? What are the ways paths and others are blocked when cross-border flow comes in? How we go forward for biodiversity conservation strategies, etc. So those questions require a forum where we collectively meet and advance through empirical evidence and research. And this, I think, is absolutely important, as Rajiv Kher proposed in his session, that we don't lack evidence. Evidences are there. They have to be cogently and coherently placed together for effective articulation. The other problem that we have seen in the region is this one-upmanship. The governments are in the race for a one-upmanship. If think tanks and research institutions also get into that, it would pose a major challenge. The time has come when think tanks get their energies together, led by UNSCAP here, and fortunately now we are very lucky that Dr. Nagesh is back in Delhi. This office can provide that leadership, and it can provide leadership because it is based in the region. and this effectiveness that would come in this kind of partnership would go a long way. And fortunately, he knows the region, so ASCAP brings in that heft which is required. It would also help in terms of bridging the knowledge gap that we see in various areas. But as of now, all think tanks are producing their own papers. They are producing their own studies. They are doing conferences, one after the other. People run from one to the other conference. But we do not have one consolidated agenda to push in with our governments. Every time any summit happens, we should have set of studies, and we should just show it to them that this is what we did 2 years back, 5 years back, or 10 years back. But now with the sustainable development goals on the table and with collective commitment, and Pakistan would be the next country presenting the VNR. So I think it is absolutely important that when Pakistan presents the VNR, you should have the VNRs of all the countries. Yesterday, we did discuss the idea of Indian VNR, but there are several other beautiful documents from Bangladesh, Bhutan, and of course Nepal. So these documents should also be our collective effort, and think tanks should get together when VNRs are being discussed and being presented. So knowledge gap is my second point, which I wanted to highlight. The third point is in terms of what modalities of cooperation. So as I said, idea of forum is there, how the forum should work, who should be the member, what kind of nucleus we can start with, what kind of work we can take up. So that's the third question, and that's the lead I'm